Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First thing I'd like to ask is could I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
A second, please.
You can second, Chair Baker.
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion's passed, thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask, do we have, so I think Dr. Haley is remoting in, is that correct? Or do we know who's? Okay, so we have no one remoting in yet then. Okay, thanks, Dee. Okay, and also I'd like to ask for another motion to approve the minutes of our Governor's Committee meeting that was held on 15 October. Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you very much. Okay, for today's discussion, what I'd like to do, if we can call up the red line version of the board policy manual, just like we did last time, what we've been doing in our previous meetings. And for today's objectives, pretty straightforward. We go final on the policy category 1 governance process, and also on the go final on the policy category 4 military measures of effectiveness for that. And we'll start with the, if you could go to page 234 of the red line version, and I think everybody, it's going to be the same as page 10 for the board policy manual, I believe, or 12, I'm sorry. And we'll go to 1.4.4. And this is pretty straightforward. It really is just the board will, instead of measure its own performance annually, it will evaluate its own performance annually as per Appendix A3. And then if you could go to, it should be page 236, or on the manual, page 14, I believe. And it's 1.6.3. And this is where the old phraseology had with respect to board minutes and posting them, reasonable period of time is what we've put instead of in lieu of 72 hours after the meeting, which is per discussion last committee meeting was infeasible because one, the minutes have to be approved, and that usually isn't done until the subsequent committee meeting anyway, excuse me. And then next one, if you can go to page, it should be 17 of the board policy manual, or page 239 overall. And this is 1.8.2.Charlie. And this is Dr. Haley brought out a good point on this. This is where we rephrase the wording to say, no JEA board member will have an individual contractual relationship with JEA for a period of 2 years after the board member's termination from the board. And that sort of narrowed it down a little bit to make it a little bit more specific. And to me, that makes sense. Let me just pause to see if there's any comments on that on Tom or Chairman Baker.
If you were a law firm and your law firm had a contractual arrangement with a former JEA board member, would this be okay or not okay?
I'm thinking not okay, but let me ask Jody.
And it's the directly or indirectly position. No board member will have an individual contractual relationship. So if it was a law firm or a practice, I don't believe that does get captured there.
Do we want it to?
That's a policy call.
Mr. Chairman, I think we might or should. This is Zachary. I think that's something that we might want to think about, just so that we don't have any kind of appearance of any kind of impropriety. I just think it's something we may want to think about.
And somehow, so an individual contractual relationship, would that include an individual utility service agreement? I mean, the intent of this is clearly not that. It's other types of contractual agreements. So I wonder if we should separate out, I mean, in this case, an individual residential utility service agreement technically is a contractual agreement.
Professional,
Yeah. Professional or aside from utility service agreements.
Let me offer this. All valid, I mean, both points valid by the chairman and Tom. But I think, does this give us flexibility with the directly or indirectly, where, I'm just sort of thinking, should a circumstance rise up like that, then maybe that becomes a topic for either this committee or the board to see if that falls into the indirect thing. I'm just sort of concerned about, if we try and capture all possibilities, this thing may be looming up and, getting a little bit intractable, but.
Actually, I wonder if the word professional substituted for individual doesn't solve for it. No
I think it
individual
does.
shall have a
it
professional
does.
contractual relationship. So then that sets aside utility service agreements and really gets at, I think, the type of relationship we'd be looking to preclude.
and there's a thought that if it was a partnership of lawyers with 50 lawyers, do we really want to preclude another lawyer in the firm, a lawyer from the firm joining our board, but it has nothing to do with JEA, but
Yeah.
his partner might.
No, that's a good point. Would,
I think professional gives us,
captures the,
like you say, the ability to bring it up and talk about it, and either look at the circumstances and either let it go or not let it go.
mhm. No, I think you're right.
I support that.
Okay. Dr. Faison, any comments on that? Does that suit with you okay?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think inserting the word professional is completely suffices. I think that's a good suggestion.
Great.
Mr. Chair, could I suggest that we say professional or business contractual relationship? Just, because that's what we're really talking about. It's not our utility bill perspective.
Right.
But if we could say no board member will have a professional or business contractual relationship with JEA directly or indirectly during their board tenure and for 2 years following members' date of termination from board membership.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Me too.
Agree.
Great. Okay, super, thank you. Okay, if we could go to page 21 in the manual, I believe. I'm sorry, it's either 22, I'm sorry, and it's 11, or 1.11.3. And so this is a new section. This is just the verbiage we have to make the governance committee a standing committee. And as you can see, A, B, and C, pretty straightforward bottom line. And it sort of reads just like our other standing committees that we have too on that. So I'll just pause to see if there's any concerns or questions on this.
Makes sense.
Okay, so with this was all the discussion that we have for the governance process based on last committee's meeting for fine tuning, which I think we've done here. And so I'm tracking, go ahead and capture that professional or business relationship in 1.8.2.Charlie. Everything else I think looks pretty good. So pending any other discussion on this, what I'd like to do is ask for a motion to bring this for action at the next board meeting for approval for the governance process policy category. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to the policy category 4, the measures of effectiveness. And I really want to thank Steve Tootin and his team who have really been working hard on this. These were hard to capture. We made a lot of progress last meeting, but I think we've done some really good work fine-tuning 3 of them basically that we had some do-outs on that. So the first one, I'd like to go to page 42 of the board policy manual. I'm sorry, page 43. and we're looking at 4.07 and 4.08. And this really, for the safety standards, bottom line is, what we're recommending is just using the OSHA recordable incident rate as the basis for this size of an organization, of the utility organization, for safety standards, and then also for the financial integrity, using the JEA pricing policy metrics to achieve a AA credit level rating for that. Now, again, just like a bunch of these other metrics, the thought is try and keep them so it's fairly easy to track, and then flexible enough where if detail is needed, we have avenues to do that. I think with both these, we can. So let me
Chairman,
just open this up for discussion.
Chairman DeSalvo, I'm sorry, I don't think the WebEx has caught up to you.
Oh.
It's page 300, I believe, in the presentation materials.
It looks like 264.
That's
Or
it.
264.
Our version, I think, has gotten updated, the version that got loaded, so the numbering is a little bit off,
Okay.
so I apologize, but page 300 of the materials is the 4.07 and the 4.08 that we're on right now, those
Okay.
highlighted provisions.
Got it. Thank you, Jody. I was going off a different number. Okay, and that's it there. Great, thank you. So let me just open this up for discussion to see if any issues with the safety standards or the financial integrity metrics.
A AA level, we're not at a AA level, am I correct, at this point?
Right, I'm tracking 2 levels below that, and I forgot what it was, but if,
So this is aspirational.
correct.
Okay, I think that's fine.
Yes, Chairman. Mhm. Okay, Tom? And Zachary, any comments at all?
I think that's fine.
Okay, great. And then if we could also go to, and I'm tracking page 47 of the manual, 48. And Jody, I don't know what it's going to be. It'd probably be 311, I think.
Is it policy 4.5.2?
Alpha, right, correct.
Yes, so it's page 305 of the materials. That's it.
Great, thank you. And for this one here, I just wanted to verify the 2,750 kilowatt hour threshold. Just last time, when we brought this up, a good metric, but it sounded like a legacy metric, which still may be valid, but I just want to make sure that I think that's still valid. Can, Steve, do you know, or does anybody here know on that?
I believe that's, excuse me, all right, back up here. Still, even though it's a legacy, I think that's still what staff is presenting as where we are.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, this is Paul, and I confirm that.
great, okay, I'm sorry, is that you, Paul? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman, and I confirm that.
Great.
The 2750. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, so pending any questions on this, I think the MOEs here, this was also a surfaced at our special meeting when we were doing the CEO selection. And I know, Tom, for you, for evaluating the CEO evaluation criteria, you had a very good comment on it's got to be objective enough where it's clear what the criteria is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think between these MOEs, which when you go to Appendix A1 CEO evaluation criteria, there's a bullet in there that directs evaluation to include this policy category, which gets to the measures of effectiveness. So I think that we've got a good combination of objective through these MOEs and subjective with the CEO characteristics, et cetera, that I think cover the gamut to get a good vehicle to evaluate the CEO. And just any comments on your part, Tom, on that, or concerns?
Agree, appreciate the work, and again, I think this objective, data-driven, clear, these, I think accomplish those goals. So I
Okay,
appreciate
great.
the work, thank you.
What page is that on?
269 in your book. So it's 4.5.2.
And then Chairman Baker, also just in Appendix A1, CEO evaluation criteria, sub-bullet 2, that's where it refers to the MOEs also to incorporate for the CEO evaluation. I'm sorry, so also in Appendix A1, which is the CEO evaluation criteria, there's a sub-bullet 2, and that's where it says the board members also refer to the MOEs to evaluate the CEO.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so pending any further comments or questions on this, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the policy category 4 MOEs.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? None heard? Okay, great. So this is going pretty quick. Let me just, so there's no confusion. So as a board, we have approved policy category number 3, the executive mandates, and also Appendix A1, CEO competencies and CEO evaluation criteria. And then we also approved, as a board, the JEA board mission, vision, values, goals, and objectives policy. As a committee, last committee, we approved the policy category 2, board management delegation, and Appendix A3, board evaluation criteria. And today, we approved the policy category 1, governance process, and also the policy category 4, MOEs. So all those we've done in the committee between last meeting and this one will still require full board approval at our next meeting. And I believe, I've been talking with Paul, it's going to be full agenda, I know, because we couldn't discuss any of this last board meeting, but I believe we can efficiently get by these in action to the full board for approval on a 17 November meeting. Now, obviously, if there's any issues that a board member outside this committee has, you know, we'll address those. But what I'm proposing is that we're go ahead and do the final do-out actions so that we can finalize our board policy manual at the next board meeting. And I want to emphasize, it's going to be a living document, so if things change, if Article 21 changes, whatever, again, that's what the governance committee is for, is to make sure that we keep our policy manual consistent and nested with that Article 21. So that's sort of what I see as a plan, but just want to hear if there's any issues. I don't want to make it look like I'm rushing this policy manual, but quite frankly, I think we're set to go final, but,
I think you've handled this beautifully.
okay?
Echo that. Appreciate your leadership. It's
Okay.
a large body of work and I think done very efficiently and in a principled way. So thank you.
Great, thank you,
And Steve,
Tom.
thank you for your work on the measures.
Absolutely. I echo that sentiment as well.
Great, thank you, Zachary. And then also, I just want to remind you, later on, early 2021, we'll have that external evaluation of our board policy manual too, that right now, Paul, and eventually Jay Stowe, when he comes on board, we'll be working to get that external look to, which I think will be valuable for us. Great, thank you. I've got one more comment, but let me just ask to see if there's any alibis from anybody? Comments at all? You good, Jody?
No, good.
Okay. Well, good. I think we're set for to put this JEA board policy manual on final approach next board meeting a week from today. And lastly, if I could, I'd just like to wish a very special Veterans Day to all the, I think there's 373 veterans on the JEA workforce. So just sincere thanks from the committee here, and I'm sure the board and all that, for your service to our country, and also your families for your support, for their support, which is valuable. But thank you for making a positive impact on our great country, and just happy Veterans Day to the JEA workforce veterans. And that's all I've got, and I think this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.